Welcome to the Bound to be Rich podcast, where I attempt to reverse engineer people who seem to be successful no matter the circumstances so that you can apply those lessons to your own life. I'm your host, Ismail Himet. One quick thing before we get started. I am starting my own email newsletter and I would love for you to join it. It's going to be like a personal note for me to my friends of all the best things I've come across that month. From hacks and tips, interesting stories, products, books, ways to make money, and who knows what else. It's totally free. And if you don't like it, you can always opt out at any time, so there's no downside. The link to join is in the show notes, and I hope to see you on the list. In this episode, we are joined by Alexandra Fasulo. She was featured in a CNBC story about how she made $378,000 in 1 year from freelancing as a writer on Fiverr. It went pretty viral, so there's a good chance you saw it. Freelancing is a great way for anyone to monetize skills you already have for side income or even as a main source of income. Literally anyone and everyone can do this. And while we touch on this subject a lot, you can and should follow her for way more detail if you want to learn more. I tried to use my time with her to get into a lot of other things, like how she's able to get so much done, what she outsources specifically, and how she vets the people that work for her. We get to know her as a person and what about her background may have contributed to her success. We even get into some topics that some of you may consider controversial. I thought it was a really great conversation, and I hope you get a ton of value out of it. Let's dive in. Alex, thanks so much for coming on. I appreciate you making the time.
Thank you for having me. I realized I didn't ask you how to say your name. Ismail?
Ismail, perfect, yeah. It's a unique name, but it helps in the branding department.
Yes, yeah, I get that.
By the way, this is like totally random question. I was soliciting questions, and one that stuck out to me was the red hair. Is it just because you like the red hair, or is there a branding purpose behind it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I typically, throughout my life, I dye my hair all sorts of different colors, purple, black, blonde, whatever. It happened to be red when my story first blew up in 2018. So I've kind of become stuck with it a little bit. It's definitely become part of my branding. That was not on purpose. But for right now, I guess I'm just kind of embracing it. I am starting to get a little bored with it, though. So yeah.
It's kind of the same thing with other, like James Harden, the NBA player, got famous for his beard, and he was talking about how it was hard to get rid of it because he's kind of known for the beard. And I've got friends. I've got friends that like go to networking events and like purposefully wear bright colored shoes just to stand out and attract attention. I thought maybe there was a branding thing there. Another totally random thing. Since we're on this roll, I saw you post about Everlywell, that food sensitivity test.
Yes.
I've actually taken that test, and my mom's taking it too. So I'm curious, like, what's going on? Why'd you want to take the test?
Oh man. Okay. Yeah. I have not honestly felt good in about 3 months now. I just don't feel good. Without getting like graphic, I can feel like my throat is swollen all the time. Like my skin's breaking out. I have low energy. I just feel terrible. And I finally went to the doctor this week and I was like, oh, I think I might have like a vocal nodule or something. She's like, no, you don't have that. And I have like shortness, you can hear it. And I have a little bit of shortness of breath when I'm speaking, and people pointed it out to me. And I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't even really notice that. And she's like, you're eating something you're insensitive to. And I was like, oh.
Do you do you have dairy? Do you eat dairy?
Yeah. So you know what? I actually think I figured it out this morning. I'm sending the test in now. I think it's a sensitivity to sulfites, which is in like all of our food. That's all the preservative crap that they put in everything. Because in the past, I've had an allergy to Roundup, you know, the weed spray. That's in our wheat and stuff, and that doesn't do well with me. So this morning I was like, oh my God, I think it might be that. So far today, I've eaten nothing with sulfites in it, and I already feel a little better. So fingers crossed.
Well, that sounds like it's going to be a hard thing to get rid of. I don't know if they break things out like sulfite level. It's more like food stuff. So I've always had stomach problems my whole life. And my test told me it was like mostly dairy. So I started taking out dairy as much as I could. It's very hard because it's in a lot of different things. But like using almond milk instead and stuff like that. And I definitely felt a big improvement. And I confirmed it once I had Carvel ice cream recently, a big bowl, and I felt horrible. So I'm like, it's definitely the dairy. So hopefully you get some insight from that.
I know. Say a prayer for me, because it's a bummer when you don't have your health.
Yeah.
Like nothing else matters if you feel horrible every day. You like don't care about anything.
Yeah, that reminds me, like one of my mentors, I asked him like, what's the best investment you ever made? And he said health. It's like, if you're not healthy, you can't work. You can't do anything.
No,
So
you really can't.
Cool. I forgot where I heard this, but I think I heard it in an interview where you said I'm curious how you were as a child, because I think you said that you were running around as a kid telling people you'd be the first female president or the first female this. So as the father of a young daughter, I'm curious what you were like as a child and where did that ambition come from? Like, not everyone has that.
Yeah, no, I'm the oldest. I have a younger sister, and my cousin basically grew up with us. So I was the oldest of three, two sisters. And I think that somewhat contributed to my boss mentality. But my mom told me when I was like only 4 years old, if I was gonna cry because I hurt myself or something, she said I'd like go into the other room so nobody could see me crying, which is like, that's like deep for like a 4-year-old. Like, I don't want to admit weakness. So I think it was half environmental, being the oldest sibling, tasked with watching over my sisters and helping out with things that were happening in my family at the time is part of it. And then I think the other part of it was truly born into me, because I don't know how I would have known that as a 4-year-old, that I should like hide my emotions or something.
It's when you have kids, like sometimes you wonder, why is my kid like that? I think there definitely is a certain element that you're just born with a predisposition to a certain kind of personality. And I relate to what you were saying. Like, I'm the oldest of three. I think you're an ENTJ. I'm the same thing. That's like the commander personality. So I relate to you there. And one of the other things about your story that caught my attention, because I relate to it too, and I'm sure a lot of people are there right now. People listening are probably where you were at the job, miserable. And I've got my own stories about that misery. Can you take us there? Because I think a lot of people will like connect with you once they hear that, because they're probably in a similar place right now. Why were you so miserable at the job? Is there any stories or anything you can share?
Yeah, I know I try not to crap on this place too bad, but it was my worst nightmare. I mean, I was sitting at a desk alone in a corner facing a wall with no windows. I have since learned about myself. I'm very sunlight and weather sensitive. The second it's cloudy for 2 days, like forget, I'm like everything falls apart. So I was sitting in the dark, facing the wall, working 12 to 14-hour days, no breaks. It was all women in the office, which like, I don't care about that, but it created a very toxic, gossip-based, envious type of working arrangement, because my job before it was actually predominantly men. When I was working in politics, it was all men, and it was actually easy to be a woman in it because they would just kind of leave me be. They'd be like, oh, there's like the one woman, and I'd be like, yeah, bye, like whatever, and they'd leave me alone. And all the guys would be fighting, but in this place, it was all women. All women. Like, I don't even think there was one guy. I think it was literally 40 women in a windowless, like, layout office in the middle of Manhattan. I was also, culture shock moving to New York City. I come from a farm in upstate New York, so it was already freaky anyway for me. Get, the subway, cities. I was not born in a city, so I was like, okay, this is just too much. These people are not nice, to put it nicely. I hate the work I'm doing. I thought I was going to be doing something creative, like helping with social media management or writing press or whatever. And I get there, they're like, no, you're going to be an account manager. And I was like, well, that's not what you told me in our interview. What is that? They're like, oh, you're going to be sorting Excel files. And if you know me, I'm horrible at that. I'm like that person. There's typos in my work. The fonts aren't all the same. There's missing spaces. Like, that is me. That's the essence of my creative process. So like, horrible job for me. So I knew I was sucking at the job I was doing, which is not fun for me. I don't like to think I'm doing a lackluster job at something. I don't like that feeling at all. I like to think I'm doing my best and it's coming out great. Like, I need to know that. So I'm like, oh, I'm failing at the job. I hate this place. I hate these people. And the straw that broke the camel's back, which I say in a lot of these, is the time, it was the holiday party when we all like got ready in our dresses, and you know, I like fashion. Fashion's not important to me, but I like expressing myself through my clothing. It runs in my family. You know, lots of people in my family have made clothes. Then my sister's a model, like whatever. So I came out in a dress that I thought was cute from like Forever 21. I was dirt broke. Like, I mean, I had no money. So it's like a $20 dress. That's all I could afford. I just moved to a new city. And all the girls in the bathroom like laughed at it. They were like, "That's what you're wearing." And they all started laughing. And I was like, "I'm sorry, am I 14 again in the gym changing room before the school dance? Like, this is not what I envisioned for my life."
Yeah.
Like, this is not it. I remember I went to that party and my other friend there was hating it too. And I was like, let's just drink like all of their wine and just have a blast and make everyone uncomfortable. And that's what we did. And we were like the only ones dancing there because it was just one big like this to everyone. And then I quit that Monday. I was like, goodbye. This is not what I pictured for myself. And I was like, I can't do it.
This could be a whole podcast in of itself, like complaining about the corporate world. I mean, there's so many stories. One thing that I remember is when I first started as an intern, I was working on Wall Street at like this big public finance company. And I was like the super intern, so I was on the floor with all the CEOs, the CFOs, the chairman. But there's this one, the CFO, I would often run into him in the elevator. It was just me and him on the way to work. And I'm like, "Hey, good morning."
Yeah.
Literally, I'm 2 feet from him, alone in the elevator, and he would ignore me. And I'm like, at first, I'm like, did he hear me? But it happened multiple times. And I'm like,
I'm sure.
what a disgusting human being. Like, these are the people that are leading these huge companies and like managing teams, and they get out in front of you and say, "It's all about the team. You got to like give your all." They don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care. So there's so many stories like that. That can be a whole show of itself. But I'm curious. A lot of people complain, and actually the last interview I did, I shared the story. It was hard for me to quit. I was ready. I talked about it forever. I was not happy. It was really hard to actually go in and quit. And a lot of people are miserable, but they never make that final step. You did it without a full plan. What made you like not say, "Hey, let me just keep going. Let me find another job. Maybe next week I'll feel better"? Why did you actually do it?
I don't know. I mean, I am a very spontaneous and impulsive person in my life with travels, with purchases, with a lot of things. I make very definitive decisions without I'm like the opposite of overthinking it. I probably underthink some things, to be honest. So I don't know, you know, I guess in retrospect, I look back on it, not to be, you know, super spiritual, but I felt an overwhelming, you know, I could call it the Holy Spirit. Someone else might call it intuition in your soul, whatever it is. I felt that and I trusted it. I felt something was telling me, "Don't walk in this place. I'm going to help you figure this out." It sounds really crazy, but I listened to that voice, which is God to me. And I was like, "Okay, you said I heard you. I heard you. All right, let's see." And boy, am I glad I listened to that voice.
Yeah. You know, it's funny that this wasn't in my questions, but I feel like a lot of people, like even thinking back on all the interviews I've done, a lot of successful people have that spirituality in some way, whether it's meditating, whether it's religion, whether it's whatever. But they're like reluctant to talk about it. So
yeah.
Why do you think that is? Like it's weird but half the world, like most of the world is religious or spiritual, but people feel like they can't talk about it. So I guess like, do you meditate? Like, how does that look like for you? Do you pray?
Yeah, I mean, I am a Christian. I read the Bible. I read near-death experience books. I'm fascinated with what happens when people die and they come back. And it's crazy. I've read 20 of those books and they all have a similar thing. Like, it's undeniable to me. I think people are afraid to bring it up because we live in a society today that is very, you can't believe in something spiritual and also science at the same time. There's like someone decided somewhere that those two can't exist when in fact they actually line up if you take the time to allow them to. I think that's why a lot of people don't bring it up because they're afraid someone will be like, "Oh, they have to believe in a God." I heard so many people when I was young be like, "I'm so happy she has religion. It's good for her." And I'm like, what does that mean? Like they think in their head you're stupid, kind of, if you need to believe there's another force, or I don't know. I think that's why a lot of people are afraid to bring it up. I didn't bring it up for the first like 4 or 5 years talking about this stuff. And now I kind of realize like, no, I have to bring it up because it's actually it's like, if I'm being authentic, like it's actually a huge part of my whole story. So I would be lying to people if I don't bring it up. So I think that's why a lot of people don't, because they think if they say, oh God, or Jesus or something, they'll be like, they're an anti-vaxxer, like whatever people would think. And it's like, no, like you can be all those things. Like it doesn't have to be black or white.
Well, we'll try to get to this topic later, because I want to talk about the judgment and like the fear of putting yourself out there, because I feel like no matter what you do, like it doesn't matter what you do, people are going to criticize and judge you
sure.
in some way or some form. So I'm curious though, you were unhappy. Are you happy now? And the reason I'm asking is because I think, speaking for myself, like I feel like sometimes a curse where will we ever be happy? Like we want more. We want to get to the next level. We want to get better. I don't know. Maybe we get content at some point, but are we really done? Or
you just took my word. I was going to say, I am the most content I have ever been in my life. I am the most secure in who I am and who I was always meant to be in my life. When I say, I feel like happiness can be a fleeting thing. Like I would say some days I'm happy and some days I'm not. I haven't really been happy lately because I haven't been feeling good. But I'm always content, if that makes sense. Like I'm always, every single day when I wake up, I'm happy to get out of bed and go do my day. And I honestly think like that's as good as you can expect it to be down here, is to be content with your life and yourself. And I am content with both of those things. So, but I would say my happiness, I'm a human. There's some days when I'm a little down about some things or other days when I'm happy. So that's how I look at it.
Yeah, I agree. I would say it's like your baseline now is higher, and obviously you fluctuate with happiness through life. Yeah. All right, so let's talk about the getting comfortable, because I struggle with this too. And I was actually speaking with a friend who's making music, and he was like a secret rapper because he wouldn't post about it. And I'm like, dude, you gotta put it out there.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I relate to that, and I think you probably may as well. Coming from a small town, you feel like, at least I felt like I shouldn't post this stuff. I was kind of like a secret entrepreneur. I didn't want to share it. People are going to judge me. What are they going to think? What are they going to say? And I found a lot of great things happened once I started posting about it. Yeah, there's haters and whatnot, but it definitely, a lot of people came to me, and it created a lot of relationships because of that. So, like, what's your story there? How did you get comfortable with it, and how do you deal with all the hate and whatnot?
Oh yeah, this is such a good topic. I for the first 4 years of what I was doing, did not post it to social media for that exact reason. Because I knew every single person from my hometown and surrounding area would crap talk me. And I was right, when the time came, but I was also wrong, because then there were some people who didn't, and who I discovered are even better friends of mine than I never could have imagined. I think I started to kind of get over it in 2018 when CNBC put out that article stating right in the title that I had made $150K in 6 months. It was like in the title, and it went viral. So the secret was out whether I wanted it to be or not. I hadn't told a soul. And this is messed up, but I was almost embarrassed by it because I knew I was going to get so much hate for it. And I knew it was going to make people uncomfortable, especially being a 25-year-old woman at the time. So I just was almost embarrassed by it, which is so messed up. And like, that's why I post like I do now, because I want other people to go, that's so stupid. I don't want anyone to ever feel like that. Like, that's just breaks my heart to even think. So it's a terrible feeling. But when that article came out, a lot of important people in my life dropped out of my life from it. And it was some of the hardest months of my life was that, realizing what human nature actually looks like, because it's pretty rough. But then on the other side of it, like once I made it through that, I lost those losers, whatever. Other people stepped up and were great. And then when you realize, you're like, oh, I'm alive. I'm breathing. It's okay. Yeah. We're going to make it. And I started to get emails from people saying, oh my God, your story just inspired me. I'm going to do that. Oh my gosh, I got on Fiverr. Now I have enough money to help pay for my mom's cancer treatments. I get those emails a lot, which are like, I start crying when I read those. When I started getting those, I realized, oh my God, I'm doing a disservice to the world by being quiet about this, actually. I'm so caught up in my own complex of wanting to be liked that I'm doing a disservice to the people who I could be helping. And then once I got a taste of, oh my God, I'm helping people, then now I'm bulletproof with it. People can say whatever they want to say. I don't care, because I see the emails I get every day.
Yeah, I just got chills talking about people. Like, I've gotten messages like that too. And then it's funny that we let these haters or these people, and I think it says more about them that they're like that, but we let that hold us back from helping the people that actually want to hear, or they're actually interested or supportive. And if you offend those people, or if you lose them, who cares? They're obviously not people you want around anyway.
No.
I will say, though, that I feel like, I don't know if it's because I'm older now, but I think you needed thick skin to be out online. Like, you have to, like you said, be bulletproof and not let it get to you. Like, I just posted something on TikTok, and it went kind of viral, and there's like half the people love me, and half the people were like, they just
hate.
You can imagine, right? But I got this strategy that I was doing where I call engage the trolls. So I was just laughing and going back and forth with them, because their hate helps me in the algorithm. They're giving me a lot of comments. They're giving me a lot of views. So I just kind of used it and turned it into a joke, and was just going back and forth and trolling them back, and turned it into a fun thing as opposed to something that like made me depressed. So I think that's one way of dealing with it. Everyone's got their own way. Some people just ignore it. I know people that just don't even look at the comments. I don't know where you fall in that category.
It depends. I've had different spells with it. In March of this year, when my second CNBC thing came out, and this one was much more exposing. It was an 11-minute episode on my life and my finances, like super transparent, almost a little too transparent. The hate that I was getting from that was too much for me to handle, so I had to stop going on social media for a few weeks. I was getting death threats. I was getting really disturbing, violent, sexual messages.
Like, why?
People in other countries who don't like seeing women, be free and make a lot of money and stuff. I mean, it was just, I was getting people still from my high school writing really messed up things like, "We know where you live," just crazy. I don't know what it is. Whatever. So I had to unplug from it, but then I kind of came back into it now. But yeah, I have fun with them. When a hater will comment something, I always write the same thing. I always write like, "Thanks for the comment. It just boosted this video in the algorithm," period. Then I laugh. I don't know if they laugh, but I always think of a quote. From Kim Kardashian, I think it is, that she was like, "Learn to love your supporters and your haters, because your haters are your biggest sales agents." And I was like,
yep.
You're right.
Especially in this day and age with social media and the algorithms, they definitely do help boost you. I had one guy like upset at my TikTok. He's just like, "Oh, you didn't tell me how to make $1 million. I was talking about compound interest, bro." I'm like, "Sorry, you didn't make $1 million from a TikTok. Keep scrolling. Maybe the next one will make you rich."
Yeah. Meanwhile, a lot of those haters, I've monitored this. They actually end up buying your products still.
Wow.
Because they almost have like a hate infatuation with you, where they might write that, but then they may actually also go buy your online course. It's actually kind of funny.
Wow, but then do they leave like a bad review or try to like dispute the charge or anything like that, or they just actually buy it as?
I think it's a weird, creepy infatuation, though, which is why I'm always a little like paranoid of my whereabouts now. But
that's interesting. Yeah. All right, so getting into freelancing, which is what you're obviously known for now. And by the way, that video did go viral. I'll link to it for anyone who hasn't seen it. I think the draw. I'm curious why you think it did so well, because I think my perspective. I remember seeing it and I shared it with a couple of my friends, because we were like looking to move from New York to Florida, and I think that's what you did. And
that's what I did.
You can make money from home. I think I interview people that are like options traders and they build startups, and I found that people really relate more to like the freelancing, or I found like real estate. Everyone relates to real estate because it makes sense to them. It's just a more relatable thing, and I think that's why I would say people were drawn to your story. What do you think?
I think that story went viral for a number of reasons, but I think it was the shock value that you can be making over $400K per year as a writer in general, and be doing it as a young person, and be doing it as a woman. I think just shocked the crap out of people. And because like the comments under it was half good for her, I'm showing this to my daughter, good for her. And then the other half was like, "Yeah, right, she's a stripper, no way, she's a prostitute, haha, daddy's money." And I think it created almost arguments under it that I think, boosted it. And then CNBC kept posting it. I almost like wanted to ask them in June, like, "You guys, can you just give me a break?" Yeah, because anytime they posted somewhere, I'd get a new surge on I could tell, like, I would get a new 20 comments on an Instagram post suddenly of like, "You're a liar, stupid B," and I don't know if I can swear. Like all
you can say whatever you want. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they kept posting it because they were getting so much engagement from it. So they were making money off of it. So they kept posting it. And I just wanted to be like, oh my God, stop though, please stop.
It's crazy because
right now I love that I have like nothing out there right now. Like if any PR person were to email me today about a story, I'd be like, can I just have one more month, please? Please.
But do you regret the story?
No. You can't, right? I don't believe in regrets because it's all a learning lesson in some way or another. So no, I would never regret it. It also blew my Instagram up, blew my TikTok up, gave me more credibility. I have different cool things that are, going to be coming out soon because of that CNBC, whatever. So it's all good. With every good comes the bad, always.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy that we live in this age where the controversy seems to be what people like. You have to be controversial in some way to get attention nowadays. And it is what it is, I guess. So, all right. So freelancing, for people that are listening that are like, I need to make money. They want to start a business, but they have a job. Maybe they want to build their cushion up by freelancing on the side, or they want to start their startup and use it to make money to live. I'd be curious to hear your input on who should do freelancing and who should, like personality-wise or situation-wise. Is there certain people that are just not a good fit for it?
I would say all of that applies to being an entrepreneur and opening your own business and coming up with a product and doing something brand new. With freelancing, I honestly believe every single person can do it because there's so many different ways to freelance. It's not just one way. And a lot of it is almost introverted in nature. I never allow phone calls or video calls with prospective clients. I completely keep it behind the computer. So I have seen from all the people I've helped get started, I've seen everyone from, I mean, there's a teenager in my Facebook group who is 13 or 14 now, and they have different learning, they have just different disabilities with being able to communicate in general and everything. And people in like the farthest end of the spectrum of introvertedness make this happen. And people who are the farthest end on the extrovertedness make it happen because you can do it on a platform. You can have your own website. You can brand yourself on LinkedIn. You can do it however you want to do it. So that's why I'm like, everyone should be doing this because freelancing isn't actually like a new skill set. It's just taking whatever it was you were already trained in, you already went to college for, you already did in 2 years of your work. And it's just offering it as yourself without the middleman providing that net that they provide for you by taking your autonomy and happiness along for the ride.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think, if I'm remembering correctly, the first jobs you did on Fiverr were like PR posts or press release posts, but you had experience doing PR.
Yes.
So I think that's a great tip where you can just do what you already do or you already know. And for people that are like, oh, but I can't write well, or I'm not a designer, I've hired people on Fiverr to literally like read a script because I needed a voice for a video. Like, you can make money in like unimaginable number of ways. Like, it doesn't have to be writing or designing.
It's all about trading time. That's all it is. These people, a lot of them can write the press release if they have to. They just don't want to. So when people are like, oh, I'm not an expert, they actually don't care. And yeah, I've seen people on Fiverr that offer a service where they will hand out flyers in a city.
Yep.
So someone in New York City, for 2 hours, I'll hand out your flyer to as many people as possible. That's not even a skill set. I mean, it is in a way, but like, that's why I say to people, are like, oh, I don't know what to offer. I'm like, just go to Fiverr.com, please, and spend 2 hours and just look around, please. I'm begging you. It's free.
So one thing I like to do, and I think you're very authentic, so it shouldn't be a problem, but I like to bring people down to earth because a lot of times people see these people, they see your story, and they're like, wow, I can't do that. Like, that's just crazy, or I'm not that good, blah, 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 blah. There's got to be a downside to all of this that people don't really get into. I didn't run the numbers, but to pull that kind of revenue in, you must have been doing a crazy number of gigs. Like, there's a lot of work, like grind that goes into that. I don't know if it was 10 gigs a day or whatever it was, but like, that's a lot of time working.
Yes.
And that affects your mental health and physical health. Like, a lot of people are not willing to do that. And it's okay because you can make half the money and do half the work. But I'm just curious if you can bring yourself down to earth a little bit for everybody so you're more relatable and they see that, hey, it's not as easy as it may seem in the headline.
Oh, no. I mean, I would say the hardest part of all of it is the loneliness aspect of it. When you are working 14 hours a day by yourself, that's lonely. Yeah, there's been plenty. I mean, from age 22 to 27, I feel like I still had a fun time. I would still allow myself to go to parties and whatnot, but you can't be hungover and run your own, six-figure freelancing business. It's not an option to you. So I feel like in a way I might have lost some of my stupid youth time, I guess, whatever you would call it. I think at times it bled into, dating, and not being able to just hang out for 8 hours every day with your significant other, because like you literally have to check your business online. And, if they're not someone who is down with that, they get upset by it, there's all different sorts of sacrifices, I would say, that have gone into it. But I do want to tell people you don't have to do it as intensely as I've been doing it. I know people, right. I'm good friends with a girl on TikTok who does freelance writing, and she works 4 to 5 hours per day and makes still like, good money. Like you don't need to make 32K per month. That's great if you but you really only need like 5K per month if you want, or even like 3K to live, 2K, depends where you are in the world. So if you only need 2K per month to live, you really only have to work 3 hours a day, and then you can actually avoid all the things that have happened to me if you want.
Yeah. This is, I feel like as a white man, I shouldn't talk about this stuff, but I feel like it'd be a disservice to like the female listeners if I didn't ask. So I'll just ask the question, and I think. And now a quick message from our sponsors. What I'd like to share with you guys today is something that I've personally been using and testing for over 6 months now, and that's the Fold debit card. It's pretty much like your usual debit card in the fact that you can buy things with it, but instead of earning cash back, you get to earn Bitcoin back. And as I'm sure you know by now, I would much rather earn Bitcoin back because I expect that to appreciate in value versus earning cash back, which I expect to depreciate in value with all the inflation. So the way it works is that you use it like you normally would, and every time you swipe and buy something, you get a notification on your phone that prompts you to spin a wheel, and based on the spin, that tells you how much reward you get for that purchase. So there's a no annual fee option and one with an annual fee. I personally pay for the one with the annual fee because I get more for it. A couple of reasons I really like this card is that I can earn 5% back on Amazon gift cards in addition to a bunch of other gift cards. And on top of that, I get to spin the wheel. So for example, last night I bought a $250 Amazon gift card. I got 5% Bitcoin back. I spun the wheel and I got another 5% Bitcoin back for a total of 10% Bitcoin back on that purchase. So what I do is at the end of every month, I see what I've earned and I transfer all that Bitcoin over to my Celsius app, which I've mentioned on the show, and I earn 6% on that Bitcoin that I earned for free. It's a beautiful thing. One other quick hack that I've got to mention that I don't think a lot of people know about is you can actually pay some credit cards off with a debit card. So, for example, I put all my personal expenses now on my Citibank double cash back card. I get 2% cash back, and on top of that, at the end of the month, I pay that credit card off with my Fold debit card and earn Bitcoin back as well. So I'm double dipping. It's really a beautiful thing. And I think for anyone listening who has the ability to pay for like large expenses with their debit card, stuff like rent, like education tuition bills, healthcare, taxes, like really big line items, if you pay for that stuff or have the ability to with a debit card, it's a total no-brainer for me to get this card and probably get the Spin Plus with the annual fee so you earn even more percent back. Right now, they're offering a special promotion. If you sign up with my link, you get to get $25 free, and they give you 5,000 Satoshis to get you started. So I highly suggest check it out. And if you do, feel free to send me a message and let me know how you like it. All right, let's get back to the show. What are the negatives, or like what should females listening that, and like I said, I have a daughter and I didn't start a college fund for her on purpose because I don't know if she's going to go to college. Maybe she'll be an entrepreneur. Maybe she'll take after, what we do. So what advice do you have to females listening that are like ambitious and make a lot of money, whether in their career or their business? Just like life advice, because I'm sure there are a lot of men not ready for that, and it just affects a lot of different things.
What do you mean, like advice on if they're getting started in it, or like just how to handle it?
How to handle it if they're already like making good money, and then like it's hard to find someone to marry, or it's hard to do a lot of things that are just, it's like, why is it that hard? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak, I'm single, so I can't speak from the successful relationship point of view. But I would say, you know, there are days when I feel myself getting not upset, but I'll see a lot of other men who do exactly the same thing as me, you know, posting about their money, whatever, and it's just so much more well received than it is for, and this has happened to me with dating too, like the guy kind of expects the woman a little bit to be the one who hangs back a bit so he can be, and I understand that's, you know, traditional, whatever. So I guess I would say to women involved with this, like, don't lose heart with that though. I would say it's harder being a woman doing this. I don't know. Oh, who's to say? Maybe I get more perks though that I don't realize I'm getting from being a woman. I don't spend too much time, you know, losing sleep over it, but I would say, don't settle with dating, right? Like, you should find a guy that is supportive of you being all those things. And if he still makes you feel bad that you love to work 12 hours a day, then don't listen to that. I don't know. I can't, I feel like I can't really say because I haven't like been successful with it.
Yet. Yes. Okay. So like I said, it's like a touchy thing, but I feel like people listening, I have to ask the question because I feel like people benefit from hearing, from that, because there's not a lot of, I don't even know how to say this. So I'm just curious, whatever, we'll be open, and feel free to like call me out, and push back. But I remember I was organizing a conference, for entrepreneurs, and people were like, you have to get more females. Like, there's not a lot of females. We need females. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Like, I'm all for it. And I found it really hard to get females to come speak. I actually, like, the guys were pitching me to speak. I was going out to women that I thought like, hey, you have to come speak. And they were saying no. So I wonder, I don't know. I don't even know where I'm going with this, but it just struck me because I feel like there are people that don't really care that much about gender or religion or like where you're from, and like, hey, if you're valuable, you're valuable. Come on, let's do this together. But maybe there's some people that just have limiting beliefs for whatever reason. Maybe the societal expectations and pressures or whatever. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts about what I just said?
Yeah, I mean, I see it with the mentoring that I've done and my own experiences. Like, women come with more of that imposter syndrome feeling than the men that I've worked with. And I think I'm always like, I see both sides. You know, I think it might have to be biological in the sense that women are technically, you know, supposed to be better at multitasking and doing all the things they're supposed to be doing for the last 3,000 years. And guys are more centrally focused because they're supposed to go out there and kill a deer or something. So I think in a way with something like public speaking, a man would be less scared of it because he wouldn't be overthinking it in his head. He would just be like, yes, I deserve this speech and I'm going to give it and people are going to love it because he has his ego and he'll do great and he won't be all nervous about it. And I think from what I've seen from women, we get in our heads and we're like, am I qualified though? Should I actually be doing it? Is the whole audience going to know I'm not an expert on this? Like, that's the self-talk that goes on in a woman's head. And I think it's half biological because she's supposed to be the one who's like making sure the kid isn't accidentally killed while dad's hunting or whatever. So it's like, it all makes sense in a way. So I sometimes don't really know what the answer is to fixing that today. Because it's like, is that asking people to give up the naturalness of their gender? You know, I don't know. I could go, this is like what I talk about at dinner with people. This is probably why I'm single. Because I love talking about this stuff. Because I would love to ponder this with someone for 4 hours and just talk about it. There's so many things.
The problem is, like I said, it doesn't really matter what I say because, oh, he's a guy. But like I said, I have a wife, I have a daughter, and I do care about these things. I do want them to feel like, I don't want my daughter to have that feeling that she can't speak. I want her to feel like, yeah, she deserves to go speak. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I'm interested in the topic too. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's a huge problem in our society today where people are like, oh, you're a man, you can't have an opinion, shut up. Or, oh, you're this ethnicity, or, oh, you're this, you can't have an opinion. And I think that's so toxic today that it's like, well, why can't you? Why can't you speak about it? Like, I hate that because I love having like spirited debate and arguments, and you can't have that when you just tell someone that they just can't speak on it. And it's like,
Yeah.
you just shut out a viewpoint or someone's thoughts that could have maybe actually been helpful. You just told them to shut up. And I hate that about today. It totally has killed like fun arguments. And I love like a good argument. Yeah.
It's like the basketball players that were talking about politics, and people were like, just shut up and dribble the basketball. Like, what do you know? I mean, what does anyone know? Like, we're all just people living in society giving our opinions. This doesn't mean like I'm an expert. So I totally agree with you. It's tough because I see that you're posting about like the Afghanistan thing. I generally don't post stuff about that kind of thing because I feel like it's hard to really get my whole viewpoint across on social media posts, and then people will just misinterpret it because that's what they want, and you just offend people. So it's just like a weird environment that we're in where everyone's looking for a reason to be offended and not listen to you.
You know, it's funny because I generally post 0 of that stuff because I know it might alienate some of the people who are following me. But for some reason, this particular debacle, I cannot help it because it taps into, I'm a very loyal person. You can ask anyone you know who knows me. Like I will go down with the ship. Like, that is me. I'm like the captain that literally is like, well, we did our thing. We're going down. That is me. That's the essence of me. So what our country has done to our own people there and the Afghans is the opposite of loyalty, and it disgusts me, and I can't help but post about it.
Yeah.
I'm like so upset by it. It makes me like, I like want to cry, like that we did that to these people. Yeah.
You know, I have the strict rule too. I never post about stuff, but that was the closest I ever got. When I saw that the people falling off the airplane because they're trying to escape, I was like, I have to say something. But then it's
gotten even worse than that, though. I mean, yesterday they're showing that the parents passing their babies over the crowd, you know, because they know they're going to, I mean, it's just, I can't even believe it. And the little part of me posting it is passive aggressive towards all the other people who post that stuff constantly, the ones who never, ever shut up about, you know, feminism and everything, like, which is fine. Like, the essence of it is fine, but they're the ones who, you know, they have a lot to say. If somebody didn't get served a cupcake at a bakery, but now it's like, tens of thousands of people's lives are in peril and they're quiet. That's why I'm upset. I'm like, why are you suddenly quiet? Like women and children are going to be killed. Like, where are you people? That's what I'm upset about. Where'd you go? I mean, why are you hiding right now?
Well, people just care about what they care about, right? And I
like they only care what's happening here or something. I don't understand like why they're like, this is actual mass human rights atrocities going on. Like, where are you?
I saw like schools were not opening because people they didn't feel it was safe, but the kids still showed up and the teachers showed up to say bye to all the little girls because they wouldn't be able to come back. Like, imagine that's the thing that I told my wife is like, we live in a very politically divided place in America, Republicans, Democrats, whatever, all these different divisions. But like, oh, you're upset that the other person won. You never get that upset that you're like afraid for your life or you're clinging to an airplane. So we take a lot for granted. Yeah, we take a lot for granted in this country.
Spoiled. Yeah, like, and I even was feeling emotional about this after I came back from my road trip last week. So I drove around the country for 4 weeks, and I was not in the rich states. You know, I wasn't on the coast. I did the whole middle of our country and like the Northwest where a lot of people live at or under the poverty line. And I met a lot of people, you know, it was very eye-opening to me because I'm from New York and I now live in Florida. I haven't ever really been around, like, you know, the people who just, if their crops don't, you know, if the crops die in September, they don't have dinner in October. Like, I've never really been around that. So it was very, like, humbling for me to be around that and see, wow, like, we are so spoiled, all of us on, like, social media, like, arguing about the dumbest stuff. Like, there are people who are starving in our own country, and now there are people who are being dismembered en masse in the Middle East, and you're complaining about, you know, someone's Instagram story that made you upset. Like, come on.
Yeah, I think my main takeaway was that I feel like war is just never worth it. Unless you're fighting for your own freedom. Like, think about 20 years of people dying, not just Afghan people, our people, and all the money.
You know, it's like people are like, you know, you're talking about it's a complex situation. Okay, first of all, I went to college for political science, and I'm actually engaged in a debate about the Iraqi war. So I actually know a lot about it, but it's the fault of many different people are to blame for this. So I'm not sitting here saying it's just one person's, fault. It's a lot of people's faults, though, and I don't appreciate when people don't take responsibility for their faults, which I've been seeing in the past few days from some people. And it's like, yes, I understand this is complex, but you know what's not complex? Women and children are being raped and killed right now. That is not complex, and I'm upset about it.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you, and it's I hope people listening. I think you're very easy to talk to, so like. I went a little outside of my comfort zone on some of these topics, but I hope people take a lesson from that. Like, hey, it's okay to talk to people about touchy things, even if they're on the different racial side or gender side or whatever side. Like, if you're open-minded, you should have these conversations without fear.
I love talking about anything. Like, I am so not judgmental. If someone has a totally different viewpoint from me, I don't flip the table at them and tell them to go die. I'm like, explain why. I'm curious.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
We're still fellow
but
Americans.
Most people are not like that. Most people are not like that.
That's a problem today. That's a problem.
Yeah. Okay, so let's bring it back to freelancing, because I'm glad that we went there. I'm glad. You got me to say some stuff that I wouldn't have said otherwise. So awesome. Okay, so I was looking at people's by the way, do you still feel passionate about freelancing? You seem to have grander ambitions, and you're interested in human rights and other stuff. You wanted to be president. Do you still feel that same passion for freelancing? Because truthfully, I don't know if I would still be freelancing if I was in your position. You could probably make a lot more money with a lot less effort with courses and teaching and speaking and whatever. I'm sure you're doing a lot of that anyway, but you don't need to freelance anymore. And I know people use that to judge you. Hey, maybe she has a team of people. Why wouldn't you have a team? I would definitely have a team of people to do hello, maybe I would stop freelancing. So,
and that's where, to me, that's the biggest sexist thing of all, is that when a man has something successful that he builds out into a company below him, nobody has a problem with that. And I'm like, why do you care that that's what any man would do in my situation? I have many things that I want to do while I'm here on this earth. I feel like freelancing has unknowingly actually become a very big passion of mine, though, because I feel like it's the most effective way to impact people, to help them break through corporate chains, to help them find financial freedom. When I was younger, I used to think you could do that through politics. I've lost all faith in politics, honestly, in our country for now. Maybe that'll change in the future. So I'm like, what's actually even better than being a congresswoman and having the world want to kill you? Helping people make money online. And so I'm, for right now, very passionate about it. I am building out an agency underneath me for managing my copywriting, and I always am transparent about that and will continue to be on my stuff. That, yes, by the end of this year, I am aiming to no longer be the one who is doing my freelance writing orders, because I have so many awesome opportunities coming my way. I'd be a freaking idiot if I didn't take them. Much like they come for anyone else. So I don't know why people, get upset about that, but there's nothing I can do. I can't please everyone, You
got to run your own race. And I feel like I actually read through this Reddit thread, and because you referenced it in another interview, I'm like, let me see what people are saying. And I'm like, I just didn't agree. And I'm not just saying that because you're on here, but she hires people. That's exactly what I would do. I may even stop the freelancing and just focus on the teaching, because I feel like I'd have more of an impact that way. So I don't know. I don't really get it myself, but
people are just they're so dense. They don't know what they don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
And I love when people weigh in who have zero business experience, who suddenly think they understand how businesses are run. I'm just like, please go back to Reddit.
My favorite is when people say, "Oh, you made this much, but that's not profit." Well, when you tell people your salary, do you tell them the after-tax take-home after all the deductions, or do you tell them the top? I mean, whatever. Don't get me started now.
Oh, I can't. I trolled someone once who said that. I was like, somewhere in some business class in high school, everyone learned the words profit, loss, and revenue, and they just think that makes them sound smart when they ask you about it. I don't know what that is.
Of course, there's other. I mean, whatever. Let me not get into a rant. All right, so I see that we have got some limited time. Let me get to the main. So when I was requesting questions, a lot of them were very detailed, but I kind of put it into these two major buckets. The number one bucket that I got is, and this is my main question personally, is I see you posting like crazy on all these platforms. You've got your freelancing business, you're teaching, you got your course, you got your Facebook group. I think you help your mom with her business.
Yeah.
You got Airbnbs. Like, I'm leaving a lot out. How do you do it all? I think that's the main question. The productivity. Any tips around how you, like, even to the point of like, someone asks, do you have someone do your household chores? Like, there are people that are so busy that they just don't have time to just like do the basic stuff. So I think they're curious, how do you get all of it done?
Not alone. That's the answer. Lots of automation and other freelancers that I work with on partnership basis levels. So my online courses, I actually co-own with Josh, who is the one who edits them and does the actual marketing. So once I record them, I'm kind of done. I don't do anything else. He does those. Right now, my best friend, Bree, quit her job to come work with me full time. So while we're on this, she's running my entire copywriting agency for me right now while we're on this. I'm a millennial. Yes, I have a local cleaner. I love nothing more than to give money to people locally. It makes me like happy. And I also use a Shipped person to bring me my groceries. I love tipping them because they're usually my neighbors. I have 2 virtual assistants. I have somebody that edits my YouTube videos for me. My Facebook group kind of just runs on its own. So I have help. I am not doing this completely alone. I work on like I use freelancers as I need them basis. So sometimes I have a graphic designer I'll pay her for stuff, and then I might not use her for 2 months. Same with the video editor, same with my podcast editor. I'll use him when I need him. And then I might say, hey, I don't need your help for like 4 weeks. I'll be back though. That's kind of how I work. I think it was I was reading the $100 Startup, and he was explaining a common structure today is, the entrepreneur at the center, and then you have like spokes kind of to all these different people that orbit you. And it's still just you're the only one on your LLC, you're the only one doing whatever, but you tap into your little things as you need them. And you don't have any employees. And it makes it easy to be agile and, shrink and grow as you see fit. And I that's how I do it.
Do you feel busier now than you did that crazy year in Fiverr where you're doing all those gigs? Or do you feel like it's less busy because you have the help?
Less busy because of Bree. Bree is a critical addition to my business. I don't think I would trust anyone else with logging into my Fiverr. I'm not going to lie. So having her has been like life-changing the last 2 months for me.
She's actually who I spoke to schedule this. So shout out to Bree. Yeah. She was very helpful.
Yes.
How did it go hiring a friend? Because I've worked with friends and family members, and sometimes it goes really bad. So like, do you have a conversation up front about expectations? Like, how do you dance around?
We did, but she's like my sister at this point. I mean, she's been in my life since I was 10. We're from the same farm town. All the crazy things that have happened in my life and her life, she's been there. Like, it's almost like an unspoken thing. Like, I would literally, well, hint, I feel comfortable actually investing in real estate with her and my sister. Like, that's how tight we all are. She's like part of my family. It's almost like I would say a sister. So I don't ever worry. I trust her fully.
I think people earn that trust. Like, sometimes people work with friends and family that I'm like, why did you work with that person? I know they're your friend, but like, they don't really, they don't deserve, like, you could tell the people who are responsible and the people who are not, whether they're friends or not. Right. So, what do you have the VAs do?
So I have the VAs report to Bree. So she kind of handles them, because I always say to her, hey, anything I give you that's like below what you are like capable of, which she's like a CPA, she's capable of like high level stuff. I was like, feel free now to use these. I'll pay for these VAs for you, and then you use them, to make your day easier. So they're doing things like letting people into my Facebook group, collecting emails, proofing blogs, stuff like that. They help with.
That was the other question, is if you're hiring or you're outsourcing some of your writing to freelancers, like a lot of people fall into that no one else can do it like me mindset, and they have a hard time letting go, especially with something like writing. So like, do you train them? Do you have like a template? Do you give them guidelines? Do you proof it? Like, how do you work around that?
Yeah, finding writers who are good at writing and who don't have excuses and deliver things on time is nearly impossible. I would say I've been through, at this point, about 40 to have two. And one writer who's been with me for 3 years actually just told me last week he will be done September 1st, which was a huge blow for the structure. Nothing I can't, fix or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I have a system. So I have little tricks set up. So if people are listening to this and you want to write for me, this is invaluable here. First, I post that I'm looking for writers on Instagram, and I have very specific instructions because part of writing is reading people's instructions and carefully. So I'll say, if you're interested, include this in the subject line, email this and include this. So first I see, can they even do that? And you'd be surprised, already 50%. Nope, gone. Okay, 50% that's left. I send them 2 test orders for real Fiverr work, real things with a timer. I say, and it's due at this time. And I pay all of them for it, even if I don't go with them. I always pay people. People on Reddit are like, she doesn't pay people. I'm like, you're a freaking idiot. Because yes, ask anyone who's ever written for me. So then I'll give them a real Fiverr order. So of the 50% left, probably only 10% actually do the work and actually deliver it on time. So now I'm down from 50 people to 3, and I haven't even gotten to the second order yet. So that's how dismal it is, basically.
Yeah, I've seen the same thing, and I do the same kind of process you do, just to filter people out, and it's amazing. It's amazing how many people can't do the basics. So,
or want to. Half of them I'll give them the first order, and I'll never hear from them again. Like they just die. Like I don't know where they go, because then I think they look at it and they're like, oh, I don't actually want to work, and I'm just like, okay, bye.
But this is again like people use it to knock you or any entrepreneur, let's say, about outsourcing work. It's hard to find people. Like the most common issue I have, like from talking to entrepreneurs or small business owners, finding good people. So that to me is a credit that you're able to do that. It's not easy.
It's not easy. I mean, there's many times I think most people would have quit by now and just said, oh, having a writing business is not sustainable, because I honestly almost have a few times with finding help. So it's the hardest part of it is finding people.
Yeah. My last couple questions to finish this up is, one of the main things people say is, oh, it's too saturated on Fiverr or whatever. There's too many people. And even if you can get some work, it's a very competitive marketplace, like driving prices down. How do you answer that concern?
I would say there's no such thing as saturation. If you commit yourself to being the best at what you do and going above and beyond for your clients, they're always going to pay you for your work. So that's a myth that, again, someone picked up in some business class somewhere. There's never saturation for having the best product available. And that's what I told myself every day when I started doing this in 2015. And there was tons of writers who came before me with many more hundreds of reviews. And I said to myself, I don't care. I'm going to be the best writer on there, and I just proclaim it, and I'm going to do it. And it took me 2-3 years. And then I, eventually had the largest amount of reviews for all of writing on there. And I did it. Just do it. Just do it. I mean, don't worry about what other people are doing. There's someone, I was on a podcast, he told me a great story about, I forget it basically, but if you're running a race, you have a baton in your hands. If you turn around to look at who's behind you, you're going to lose. Like, you can't ever turn around. Just keep going and do not worry about other people.
Well, that's why I'm glad we talked about the amount of work it takes, because it's like you have to run your own race, and it's hard. You have to put the work in. Like, a lot of people are just not willing to do that anymore.
Yeah.
So the last question I ask everybody, and you might know the answer to this because of your experience, but if I could interview the people that were in that small farm town, or your classmates or your teachers or people from there, would they be surprised at your success, or would they be like, I always knew she was going to make it?
I don't think a single one of them would have been surprised, because I was a crazy person even in high school. I was like the president. They would say, oh, I'm not surprised at all. But then they would roll their eyes, I think. And then they'd be like, oh, Alex, no, I'm not surprised. I think that's how they would answer.
That might be the best answer we got so far on that one. There's so many things and I'm going to link to a bunch of stuff in the show notes, everybody, but what would you want to hand people off to?
Okay, so if you're listening to this and you want to make money online, start freelancing, all that stuff, I recommend listening to my podcast. I only have 1 season out so far, and it's just me rambling. And 22 episodes, I pretty much cover everything you would literally ever need to know to get started freelancing. And it's free, so it's called the Freelance Fairy Tales. And I have a bunch of other products too, if you're interested. I have like an ebook and courses, and all that can be found on my website, which is alexfasulo.com.
And I recommend people follow you on social media, if for no other reason than to get inspired at putting out so much content. That's like a full-time job in itself. I'm like, man, I'm slacking over here. I got to get on my game. But I truly appreciate you making the time. I really enjoyed the conversation. I'm glad it felt comfortable enough for us to go into other things that I think hopefully people find valuable.
Sure. Yeah, I had fun. I love talking about this stuff.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alex. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time, and have a great day.
You too.
One quick reminder before I let you go to join my email newsletter. It's going to be like a personal note for me to my friends of all the cool things I've come across that month. From hacks and tips, interesting stories, products, books, ways to make money, and who knows what else. It's totally free, and if you don't like it, you can always opt out at any time. The link to join is in the show notes, and I hope to see you on the list. And there you have it. If you enjoyed this episode, please remember to leave a review. I may even give you a shout out and read yours out on the show. For any and all resources that we discussed, check out the show notes or head on over to boundtoberich.com. Until next time.